January 14th, 2025, annual and regular meeting of the Carmel Clay Board of Parks and Recreation. Vice President, would you please read the roll?
Yes, Jonathan Blake,
Here.
Jim Garrettson, Judy Hagan.
Here.
Jen Christunis, here. Katie Mueller. Here. John Shapiro. Mark Westemeyer.
Present by video.
Lynn Zhang. Here. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I will call the meeting to order now at 6:06, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item of business is public comments. I don't see any public here to speak yet. Okay. Next item will be election of Park Board officers for 2025. Jen, would you give the report, please?
Yes, the nominating committee has met, and we are suggesting the following: Judy Hagan for president, Jen Christunis for vice president, Lynn Zhang for treasurer, and Mark Westemeyer for secretary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jonathan? I will also open the floor for any nominations. A motion, seeing any, I'll close nominations. Do I need a motion, Brian? A motion to close nominations?
Second. Oh.
Jonathan and Jen, seconded. And now I'll move to accept the slate.
I'll do a roll call vote since we have a member that is present via video. Judy Hagan,
Aye.
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westemeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Madam President, unanimous vote.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. And then before we go any further, I just want to welcome our one new board member who is here now, Katie Mueller. Thank you for joining us very much. We're very glad to have you. Welcome, welcome. We will move on now to staff reports.
Thanks, Madam President. Staff reports are included in your packets. I did want to point out that the quarterly contract log is included in this Park Board packet, so please review it to make sure that you don't have any conflict of interest. If you do, we do have a disclosure form that you can fill out. Our Park Board attorney would be glad to help you with that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
That was a good story about the Monon in the Rails to Trails magazine.
It was.
But I did not know the rest of the story about the sewer. That was the first time I have heard that in, how long has this been? 20, 30 years almost now. Did you realize that, Brian?
In Indianapolis, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
There were some other trailblazers in Carmel that I would have loved to have seen incorporated into it, like Ron Carter and Mayor Brainerd and stuff. But otherwise, great story.
yeah, it was a good story. And I think Annis, the reporter, knows
Yeah.
sort of everybody, so I don't know, who exactly.
Trying to
was-
incorporate a lot of stuff into one
Yeah.
article. Yeah,
And the long-term history, too.
absolutely.
But I didn't know that part. I knew about the sewer under the canal trail. That's what got that done for the downtown, like through Butler and all that area. That was a collapse, I think, of the canal, and then that's part of how they got the path along there. But I did not know the rest of that story, so that was interesting. Any questions about staff reports? I had another, just a comment. So I know we get reimbursed for it, right, for the Chris Kindle Market servicing that bathroom and public area, but I didn't realize how busy it was. It's 3 times the.
Yeah, we report our the Chris Kendall Market and Festival of Ice expenses to Zach Jackson, the CFO. But the city does fund park operations through the general fund. So all those expenses are accounted for
Are accounted for.
each year when we go through the budgeting process.
It's certainly a busy
Absolutely.
place for that length of time.
And just to add on to, the city then takes our expenses that are associated with that and also correlates that with the other city department expenses. So if it goes over the contracted amount that the city has committed towards that, that's the additional amount that's reimbursed to the city. So we help towards that reimbursement, but we don't
Okay.
directly get reimbursed.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Do any other board members have any questions for the staff reports? Another question. Inclusive vendors, what, is that the conflict of interest? I guess I don't remember seeing that
No,
yet.
the quarterly contract log is what I'd like for you to review from a conflict of interest perspective. The inclusive vendor reporting is something that the park board passed a inclusive procurement and contracting policy in 2021, I believe.
Okay.
And part of that requires that we track our XBE vendors and report them to the park board on an annual basis, and that's what's in your park board packet this evening.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's completely separate from the contract log.
Okay. All right, any other questions for Curtis? Anyone? Okay, then we will move along to the next item on the agenda, which is committees. Yep, committees. Okay, Lynn, welcome back. Nice to have you back, and nice to have you reappointed to the board. If you will give the Finance Committee report, please.
The Finance Committee didn't meet last month.
Okay. Thank you. Mark?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Westmeyer's up on the screen. Welcome, Jim.
I apologize, I got stuck in the snow. I had to call my city councilman, Matt Snyder, who wants to speak tonight. He should be coming through that door, and I'd appreciate if you get him on early.
We will, and we'll wait till you get settled. Actually, I was late 5 minutes tonight, too, so I won't fuss at you. Strategic Funding Committee, Mark?
We did not meet.
Thank you. Then we are on to minutes. Jen, would you handle the minutes, please?
Yes. I move to approve the minutes of the Park Board meeting on December 10th, 2024.
Second.
I'll do the roll call vote. Judy Hagan,
Aye.
Jed Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson, and Katie Mueller.
Aye.
It is approved unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to the financial reports. Lynn?
I move to acknowledge receipt of the consolidated financial report for November 2024, to acknowledge receipt of the P&L statements for November 2024.
Second.
Okay, second by Jen. Any questions for Lynn or staff on the financial reports?
No, Madam President.
Jen, go ahead.
Yes. For the P&L, we are acknowledging receipt of the P&L, but should it, for November, should it be December?
You are correct. The P and L is December, the consolidated is November.
Okay. Can we make an edit to the motion?
Okay. Say again, Jen. The consolidated is for November.
Yeah.
This one's right, this one needs to
It's
be.
wrong.
The motion, there was a typo in the motion that,
The P&L statement for December of 2024.
Correct. Okay.
Lynn, you're comfortable with that change? Yes. And our second was,
Do I need to
Jen.
read the motion again?
Okay, thank you. And then I was just going to say that on the P&L, that Curtis how you felt about ending the year of 2024.
We are going to end the year at 100% cost recovery for all of our non-reverting funds, no doubt about it. But it's been another banner year. So for Katie's knowledge, the consolidated financial statement is something that we compile based off of a county system called Penimation that the city uses and city utilizes, and the city controller is the fiscal officer of the department. So that is the actual official financial statement of the department. The P&L statements are from QuickBooks, and that is really a management tool, just because of the way that we operate specifically, especially as it pertains to the non-reverting funds. So the 108 ESC summer camp, Extended School Enrichment Summer Camp Series Fund, the 109 Community Center Fund, and the 110 Recreation and Facilities Fund, all operate or have to operate at 100% cost recovery. So we utilize QuickBooks so that we have more timely reporting with regards to how those funds are operating. So it just gives us a little more timely information and lets us react a little bit more quickly to different stuff. But as it pertains to ending the year 100% cost recovery, we're at 100% going to do that. If you look at the P&L statements, especially on the 109 fund, it might appear that, the net income is a little bit lower than what it typically is, but QuickBooks can account for the funds that we're pulling from our cash reserves and using towards capital improvements like the indoor playground. So on the consolidated financial report, we're able to show it that way. In QuickBooks, it shows as capital outlay. But the beautiful thing is we're still going to finish the year, even on the P&L statements, at 100% cost recovery, as you can see from the December statement. But I'm very pleased. The staff's done a phenomenal job managing their budgets again this year. They're all top notch, and I couldn't be more pleased. And the one thing that's extraordinary this year is, especially as it pertains to the MCC fund, is we have used that fund for more improvements than we ever have in the history of the department. I mean, LED light bulb replacements, pump repairs, all types of repairs that historically we've used local income tax 1215 funds to facilitate. Those repairs are being incorporated into the 109 fund, and they're still operating at 100% cost recovery. It's awesome. So the team's really doing a phenomenal job.
And those are the non-tax funds. Yeah. You'll get onto it quickly.
Like Michael likes to say, effectively, we're a retail operation at times,
Right.
with the programs and services that we offer, and the 108, 109 funds and the 110 fund kind of reflect that.
Okay, did we do a roll call?
I haven't done a roll call yet,
Okay.
but was
Are we,
waiting to see if we had any additional
any
questions.
additional questions?
Yeah,
Jonathan?
Curtis, thanks for the reminder on the 109 fund, because I was looking at the P&L versus the
Yeah.
consolidated financial, and I was like, why are these
I meant-
numbers not matching up? But I remember now
Yep.
the issue. So, but just wanted to applaud the staff on all your efforts over the last year. It was like Curtis said, it was a banger year. So great job.
Any other questions? Okay, Michael, we're ready for the roll call.
Very good. Judy Hagan,
Aye?
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson, Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Passes unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is the claims. Treasurer, Lynn? Are you ready for treasurer? Sorry.
I move to
Thanks.
approve the claim sheet dated January 14th, 2025, to approve payroll wages and liabilities for payroll dates December 13th and December 27th, 2024.
Second.
Second by Jonathan. Any questions? Jen?
The Clay Township claim sheet is no more. The township is transferring all remaining funds that were in 1215 to the 103 fund that's maintained by the city CFO. So we will no longer have any expenses going to the township for payment.
Originally, this was in your board packet, though.
Yeah, it was originally in the packet, so that was something that was new that was sent out, so, but yeah, yeah. No more Clay Township claim sheets moving forward.
Okay, Lynn, did you include the payroll?
She did.
Thank you. Okay, then, Michael, I think we're ready if we have no questions for the vote.
Very good. Judy Hagan,
Aye.
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson, Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Approved unanimously, 6-0.
Jen has a question. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, I have a question. I signed a claim sheet for Clay Township.
Yeah, again, because we send those out so far in advance, so we sent the claim sheets, and it was part of the original park board packet until the park board packet and everything went out, and then Michael caught that, no, we were actually transferring all that money.
Okay,
So that claim sheet that you signed will just get tossed away. So
okay. I just want to make
sorry
sure.
for the
No, it's okay.
original intention of having that claim sheet, and then at the last minute removed it, had all the money transferred over.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
It'll be saved for the future in case there's ever an issue with your signature.
Got it. Thank you.
Find you. Okay, we're going to change up our agenda for just a minute here because City Councilman Matt Snyder is here, and I understand you would like to say a few words while you're here, Matt. So,
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you for getting me on. Absolute privilege to be here before you. Matt Snyder, Carmel resident. And I want to touch on a couple things. Many of you know me, and I've lived in Carmel my whole life. And there are many things about Carmel that are very special. One of them is the sense of purpose, sense of identity, and sense of community we have. When I was growing up, as many kids do, I had a surrogate family. It was the Sexton family. They lived a few houses down, and I probably spent more evenings with them than I did with my own family for various reasons. I grew up with the 3 Sexton kids. One of them is still my very best friend. One of them went on to be the top of her class at Carmel High School, went on to the Kelly School of Business, graduated, became a working professional, took a great job out of state. And like so many people do, and how we want to treat people from Carmel, they come back. This person came back, found a wonderful man, got married, and is raising a wonderful family. And that person is Katie Mueller. Katie, I'm so proud of you. You're the closest thing to a sister I'll ever have. And to see you up here representing your community makes me very happy. What this board does, I would say, is probably more important than anything else any other board or commission Carmel has. Our parks are the foundation of the greatest city in the United States, and it takes strong leaders and strong minds to run an organization like this. We've been very lucky with Mark Westermeyer and Michael Klitzing and the bench following Mr. Klitzing. But none of that happens without support from a board of directors to keep guardrails on those directors, set what the initiatives are, and beyond thanking you for being here and welcoming you, I want to thank the whole board because we are in some difficult times as we figure out how to move forward, what we're going to do. My commitment is I will continue to champion Carmel Clay Parks in every decision I make. Thank you guys for having me.
thank you, Matt, for your kind words. You have attended more meetings in 2024 than anybody I know. So, thank you for covering everything. Thank you.
Judy,
Yes, Jim?
if I could just say something about Matt. He's probably the best friend in government that this board's ever had. I won't say he alone, but he initiated and followed through on the $30 million we spent on 7 parks to bring us up to the level we are. we wouldn't be there without Matt. And if he looks at the parks and talks glowingly, he has every right to. He's been wonderful for the park system.
Amen. Good night. Okay, we'll resume our agenda at number 10, gifts, grants, partnerships, and sponsorships. Eric?
Thank you. So we received last month a grant for $180 from the Hamilton County Soil and Water Conservation. This was for some invasive species conference that our Parks and Natural Resources staff went to. So this was a grant to then cover the cost of their enrollment in that conference. We received sponsorship from Tikal Homes for our sensory-friendly trick-or-treat program. So they sponsored that for $300. We also received a grant of $10,000 from the Greenway Foundation. This was originally, we applied for this grant to expand some trails on the south side of the White River Greenway that we were going to use to kind of help with extending some of the trails from where the pedestrian bridge is connecting right at Hazel Landing. But we didn't end up receiving some additional funding that we were going to need for that trail system. So Carrie was able to work with the Greenways Foundation to rework that grant to allow us to use that for the White River North Extension project that we're currently working on. So that gave us some extra funding to help with the North Extension. So that was good that we were able to kind of pivot that a little bit. And then we received our $100 donation for our staff appreciation from our anonymous donor.
Eric, I just have a quick question. So that means the award from the Greenways Foundation will be given at the luncheon in April, right?
I assume so.
Yep, okay. So you all have that on your calendar? Okay, good. All right. I would entertain a motion to accept the gifts.
Madam President, I move that the board accept the gifts provided this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jen? Right. Any other questions from board members? Then we're ready for the roll call.
Very good. Judy Hagan,
Aye?
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson,
Aye.
Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 6-0.
I had my packet out of order. I'm sorry. I'm back on track now. That's ratification. Okay. My job now, which does not have a page with a motion or anything, so I lose track. Okay, Park Board Finance Committee appointments. That's me. Treasurer Lynn is the chairman of the Finance Committee, and I've asked Mark Westermeyer and Katie Mueller to serve on that committee with Lynn for this year. And they have accepted. The Plan Commission appointment this year will be Jonathan Blake. Thank you, Jonathan, for accepting that appointment. That does mean double meetings, maybe triple, so thank you. The Carmel Clay Parks Foundation liaison appointment will be the park director, Michael, again this year. Thank you, Michael. I went ahead and appointed a nominating committee just so we sort of get to the end of the year and then we're scrambling to get it done in time. So I thought, let's just get it on the agenda now and have one less thing to worry about at the November meeting. And so I've asked Mark Westermeyer and Jen Christunis and Jonathan to serve again on that nominating committee as they did this year, and they've all accepted. So, thank you. And the Park Board Strategic Funding Committee, this will probably be a busy one this year. So Mark has agreed to continue to chair that. And Jim, I tried to call you and I could not get you on the phone today, so I apologize. I would like you to serve on that as well. And Katie has agreed to serve also. Thank you, everyone. All right, now we're ready for ratification of the general fund.
Thank you, Madam President. Within your park board package, you should have a couple of sheets that look like this. Really, this is an annual housekeeping item, something that's required by the State Board of Accounts, is that each year, each of our line items finishes at net zero or in the positive. And so a lot of times to do that, what has to happen at the end of the year is, when you have a line item that goes a little bit in the negative, you have to complete what's called a line item transfer to bring it back into the positive. So that's what you have in front of you, which is basically a summary of all of the line item transfers that we completed this year. I'm pleased to report that, once again, our department was under budget, and we did return approximately $158,076.40 to our fiscal body. And then since 2003, when the city became the fiscal agent for the department, we have returned approximately $3,018,472.82 for a 22-year average of $137,203.31. So pretty impressive. Well, again, we pride ourselves in operating in the most efficient manner that we can, which means that a lot of years we're returning monies back to our fiscal body. That I'm happy to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Curtis, can you run those two numbers by me one more time? The 3 million?
Yeah, so over a 22-year period, we've returned $3,018,472.82 to our fiscal bodies. That is an average of $137,203.31.
Thank you.
Our annual budget this last year was $6,047,486.14.
Because that was your question, Jim, a couple of board meetings back, what the anticipated return would be. So in line with what Curtis had sort of estimated, so thank you. Ready? Did I have a motion? Oh, motion.
I move to ratify the 2024 end-of-year budget line transfers as presented.
Second.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll go with the roll.
Do the roll call. Judy Hagan,
Aye.
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson, Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously 6-0.
Thank you. The next item is the resolution accepting the transfer of Central Park from the Building Corp. So this is another coming full circle 20 years ago.
And I'm going to defer this to legal counsel Brian Bosma, because unlike me, he was here 20 years ago to be a part of this. So.
Yes, so I was hired by then Clay Township trustee Judy Hagan to assist with the bond issue and to represent both the township and to create and represent a building corporation, and that was the birth of the Carmel Clay Parks Building Corporation. Just to explain the transaction, even though it's coming to an end, there may be more in the future, and there are some still lingering. The building corporation owned Central Park. It issued bonds for the construction of the Monon Center and other improvements, $55 million worth, and leased. The bonds were secured by lease payments from the township. So there was a lease between the township and the building corporation, very typical looking commercial lease that required the township to take all care, pay all expenses. And that was recorded, and one of the items that's taking place now is a recordation of a release of that lease, and that's being approved in your resolution. Then we set it up so the township then turned to the park board and entered into a sublease and management agreement, which was not recorded, but is frequently referred to, and it essentially said, park board, it's yours. Do everything to it necessary, pay all expenses, and here you go. So the park board has managed the facility and the entire Central Park, 150-some acres, since that date. The lease statute, Indiana Code 36-110, requires at the end of a financing transaction like this that the property is transferred to the lessee, in this case the sublessee, the park board. So we have received from the Building Corporation with one more document coming, the Building Corporation transfer documents for Central Park to be titled in the name of the park board. Probably some of you thought that was already the case. It hasn't been. And you are the sole fee owners of now the Central Park area, which will make a couple of our easement negotiations and some other things that need to happen, once those are recorded, those will come back up in front. It'll be just a bit easier rather than doing a three-way agreement, just agreement between the two of you. And as Judy indicated, I've done dozens upon dozens of these transactions over the years. This is the first one that I've been around for the start, still represent the client at the end of the 21-year lease period. And it is a little bittersweet, but it's good that the park board has the property free and clear now, and the resolution before you just, I don't think Judy's going to have to sign anything on behalf of the board, but just in case, didn't want to get to the courthouse and say, uh-oh, we need one more thing, and not be able to record without it. So the resolution authorizes the president of the board to take all action necessary to accept the transfer of Central Park and to execute and record all documents necessary for that. The Building Corporation has done so. The township will be doing so in the very near future as well. They don't need board approval. And the lease release, Paul can sign from some of the original approval resolutions. Happy to answer any questions about that. Yes, Jim.
Who all are the people who are on the board
Yes.
still on it?
Well, yes, in great part, they are. There's one replacement. Judy's on the board. Dan Dutcher is on the board, and he replaced someone,
I actually replaced Jack Edwards when he passed.
Jack Edwards.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Nick
right,
Ke-
Jack Edwards.
Nick Kestner's the
And then Nick
president.
Kestner's the president and has served in that capacity for quite a long time.
I think we ought to get some plaques or something, Judy, for those of you who served on that board.
I think we have a big plaque up in the entrance hall because I made sure everybody's name was on it,
Yep.
including.
And we're not going to disband the Parks Building Corporation yet, because if 4 years from now or 5 years from now, the township decides it's willing to do another bond issue of some type, we want to have that vehicle there. It's $20 biennial fee every 2 years to keep it alive, so and that comes to us, and we'll take care of it. So it'll be there for the future in case something should happen. Let me digress just a little bit to tell you another impact of this. The interlocal cooperation agreement between the city and the township, which creates this board and gives it its powers and authority, was developed in July of 2002. It was amended 2 times. And in the second of those amendments, it indicated that, the First Amendment provided that all funds, all local income tax, local option income tax at the time, funds that were generated by the indebtedness for the Monon Center, the $55 million indebtedness, created at the time, no longer created local option income tax distribution, which was quite substantial over the years, $3-ish million per year. And all those funds were deposited in 1215 fund of the township and were used solely for park projects budgeted by this board and approved, of course, by the city county council. The second amendment said we are going to make the membership of the board equal between the city and the township, and then that it would expire, that board membership would expire, and everybody would revert to appointees of the mayor, with one school board appointee still. And the day that the final lease payment is paid, tomorrow is the date of the final lease payment. So the third amendment to the interlocal agreement, which was acted upon by the city council 2 weeks ago, before the end of the year, I believe, extended that deadline for the joint board to continue for another 2 years in order to give everyone time to try to find a funding solution, as was stated here earlier, which is sorely in need. So We'll be recording the deed to the park board. We've already filed with, recorded and filed with the State Board of Accounts, the Third Amendment, and distributed that to the city and Clay Township in a form that will survive whatever audit the State Board of Accounts decides to do. So you have 2 years, clock starts now, actually 2 years minus 2 weeks to try to, together to try to find a funding solution for the future. Jim?
Is it my understanding that the state legislature has to take action for us to continue after 2 years?
No. You can do so with another amendment to the interlocal cooperation agreement. Now, the legislative action that's been discussed would be to allow park boards to generate some tax revenues on their own without without city, or in your case, city or township involvement, but actually take action to do so. Also some discussion about allowing more than one park special taxing district to exist in one place. You can only have one today. The city has that special taxing district in accordance with the interlocal agreement, and the township does not have a special taxing district. So we have had some discussions with the lobbying group about changing that. Michael's had a discussion with the legislator on that, which he may want to share.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet with House Ways and Means Chair Thompson to discuss some of the ideas that Brian discussed, and we're continuing to work with the legislature and see if there's a path forward in this cycle to provide a new funding mechanism for parks. Anytime you're going to the State House, as former Speaker Bosma can attest, nothing is guaranteed, but you have to have the conversations to have an opportunity. So we're having those conversations, and certainly a big focus by all reports of the current legislature will be looking at tax relief, property tax relief. So it's not necessarily
Read property tax cut, when you say relief.
exactly. Thank you. So, we're asking for a tall task when what we're asking for is kind of counter to some of the objectives that are trying to be achieved. But you have to ask to have a chance to yes, and that's what we're doing right now. And we'll keep you posted as this legislative cycle goes. And if we have to, we'll keep pressing for the next one. So.
As part of this discussion about Full Circle, I want to bring Mark Westemeyer in. This was Mark's first really big project, like the project, when Mark came on as director. And he's on the screen. He had no idea what he was getting in for at the time, although actually none of us had any idea how it was going to go. But it is a bit bittersweet because for three of us here, this has been a long time labor of love as well as getting something done. And so I just want to, Mark's not in the room with us, but I want to recognize him. He's part of the circle here that's been around for forever, and he and Michael got it done. So that was their responsibility, and they delivered big time, because there isn't any other park department that's doing the cost recovery that we are. And so that sort of set the bar pretty high, and they've continued to make that happen. And we're, I hope, the envy of many other government units. So, do you have anything to say, Mark?
No, thank you, Judy. It's been, it has been, I think, a venture of love, especially for the community, for everything that we've been able to accomplish.
Amen. Okay, so we are ready for the motion. Jen?
I move to approve Resolution G-2025-001.
Second.
Any further questions or discussions? Okay, we're ready for the roll call.
Judy Hagan,
Aye.
Jen Christunis,
Aye.
Lynn Zhang,
Aye.
Mark Westermeyer,
Aye.
Jonathan Blake,
Aye.
Jim Garrettson,
Aye.
Katie Mueller.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you. I will recognize one other person unseen in the room, Hal Espy, who has been recording our adventures for many, many years now. So I'll consider you in the loop also, Hal. Thank you. Now we're on to old business.
No old business to bring before the board today.
Attorney's report. Brian?
Just been advising and working with your staff on several real estate possible acquisitions, appraisals related to that. We've also been continue to work on the park rules ordinance to be adopted by the Common Council. We finally reviewed today and approved what will be before the council next week, I think, that matches almost identically the park rules that were adopted by the board a month or two ago,
I think it'll be on February 3rd.
February 3rd.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, in that resolution, you authorized the park director to make any routine changes to the park rules to match what the council ultimately passes, which will be slightly different, so there'll be some minor revisions.
Do you want to do that under your director's report, Michael? I didn't, or you want to go ahead with that?
Once the council ultimately adopts it, I'll report back at that time the changes that were made and adjustments that have been made. So right now, everything's pretty much been.
They're ministerial. It's
Okay.
like citation to some city code numbers, pronouns.
Nothing substantial?
Nothing
to the-
material.
Okay,
Substantive.
Yeah.
okay. All right. Then, Michael, do you want to go ahead with your report? Thank you, Brian.
Glad to do so. Included in your board packet is my written director's report. The one thing in the written report that I do want to point out, as Brian indicated, we do anticipate those rules going in front of the council at their February 3rd meeting. Also at that meeting, we'll have my first quarter report to the city council. And then it is also at that meeting that we anticipate the appropriation of the grant funds that we received, the Ready Grant funds and the Hamilton County Grant funds, the appropriation of those dollars and transfer of those dollars to the respective funds so that we can expend them or be reimbursed for the expenses that we've already had. So that'll be at the February 3rd meeting. A couple items that are not in the board packet. Brian stole my thunder on the Third Amendment, so that one's already taken care of. No, that's good. You did a phenomenal job with that. One of the things, tonight you, of course, did the administrative housekeeping of end-of-year line transfers. The city is in the process of updating sort of the process for that with the goal, sort of a mandate that was given by city council to the city's chief financial officer. But instead of having those end-of-year line transfers, the goal is to have those transfers occur so that no item ever gets into the negative before the expenditures are made. So we had a meeting today with other city departments to review sort of the protocols that the CFO is in the process of putting in place. Doesn't have any significant impacts on us as far as the transfers. Instead of doing it at the end of the year, we'll just be doing it as we go along, keeping the park board informed on that. But it actually is a logical thing to do and keeps things clean and one less housekeeping thing we have to do at in the first meeting in January. It also will outline a new process for additional appropriations, which it's sort of been a nebulous process. Sometimes you work with city legal, sometimes you work with the finance department. So they've streamlined it so that you know where to go to start those processes. So again, nothing that is negative as far as our interactions. The one thing that may create a little bit more staff resources for is the city is also putting together basically a dashboard where We'll be able to track monthly projections versus actual expenses for the general fund, something that will require a little bit of staff time to make those projections and track things. But right now, again, it's not a bad business practice. The challenge is the city's financial software is not the most sophisticated. So they're having to cobble together some systems to be able to provide something that a more robust financial system would be able to do automatically. But again, it's part of the mayor's and CFO's efforts to just have a more streamlined understanding of expenses in a timely manner. So it's an effort that I applaud, but we'll keep you posted if it becomes too onerous from a staff administrative thing. But again, the intent is really good and something that we applaud the city for doing. A couple other items, continuing to work with the city, as reported in previous report, to have discussions about the future of Brookshire Golf Course. The mayor, since she was on council, has always questioned whether it maybe makes sense for the city's golf course to be under the management of the park system. So we're continuing those discussions, no commitments, no decisions have been made. One of the things that I suggested to the city that would be something I think the park board would want to see in order to consider a management agreement would be having a business plan for the golf course, because since the city has owned that golf course, there is no formalized business plan. So working together with the golf superintendent and the finance department to put together a scope of work and get some proposals for putting together a business plan so we better understand that. Yes, Jim?
That does not include our purchasing that property.
The idea of us having to purchase the golf course is not on the table. So it would be, actually I had a conversation with the mayor this afternoon. We would envision, if the decision is made that this comes to Parks responsibility, a management agreement similar to what we have for like Founders Park and Flowing Well Park. So, not transferring the property, but assuming management responsibility for that. The other thing that I've also expressed that I would think would be a park board expectation, that any subsidies that are coming to the golf course that are necessary to sustain its operations would follow, so that we're not tapping into additional things. Of course, the idea, the goal is maybe under our leadership, we can, working with the golf staff, we can help them achieve 100% cost recovery. But, just as we said with the Monon Community Center, it takes 3 to 5 years. Now, they're an existing operation, but again, we think the business plan is paramount to understand what is and isn't possible with that golf course, and if cost recovery is possible, creating the strategic implementation and things we need to do to make it happen.
Don't they have things other than golf? I'm thinking, don't they have a large room that they can rent for parties and things like that?
Yes, sir, you are correct. There is a banquet facility that is rented. The rentals and banquets are facilitated through a third party, with the city receiving a certain percentage of the income from
Would
those.
that be part of this?
Any operation, yes, that would be included in the business plan and the assessment, and would, presuming that this ultimately comes to parks, those operations, agreements, revenue sources would follow.
Do we at the Monon Center still do that in the ballroom?
We no longer have a organized banquet component, just because we're using that space so much for program purposes, for group fitness classes, for other recreation programs during the summer months, for summer camps. And because of how frequently they're used for programming purposes, there just isn't a lot of time left over for banquet options. So effectively, the banquet side of the Monon Community Center was shut down a number of years ago. And that decision was made consciously, because what we identified before that decision was made is that in the roughly 2 months that we have summer camps, we net more off the summer camps than what we grossed from rental revenues and banquet catering commissions. And then you add on top of that all the programs, especially the group fitness programs that we offer in the space, which contribute and are a reason that people buy memberships to the Monon Community Center. And with memberships being the number one driver of revenue for the community center, offering more fitness programs helps us drive more memberships, which helps us, again, increase the revenue. So, you know, it became a relatively easy management decision that the focus went to those areas that drop more money to our bottom line than what catering ever could.
Any other, you've got
Yeah,
more before you finish?
just a couple more things. I also had a conversation this morning with the Economic Development Director regarding efforts that the city has with the idea of transforming the Conseco, the CNO property. What is great is that the city very much wants to have a public process. It looks like they may be close, if not already, in the process of having a conceptual agreement with CNO for that property, which once that's finalized, they'll continue master planning that property. They have, and the mayor has specified that she would like to have me involved in that process, but they do want to have a public input process that's related and really lean into the expertise that Carmel Clay Parks and Recreation has in soliciting public feedback. And the vision that the mayor and the city has is leveraging parks and a trail network within that property, very much like the Monon was a spark for economic development within the central portion of the community, close to the Monon. They see a similar, but in a different, I mean, it would look different than the Monon because it's not a former rail path, but the opportunity for leveraging parks to be a part of the economic driver to redevelopment that area. So much more information to be coming with that, but it is exciting to see the mayor and the city very much recognize and see parks as a key partner to that, much as the Monon was a key partner to transforming the city to what it is today. Also had a conversation with Jack Berry, the president of the Carmel Dads Club. There's a property on West 136th Street, just a little bit west of Spring Mill, that the Dads Club has. It's a little over 5 acres. That was donated to them by a developer. One of the adjoining subdivisions had explored with the Dads Club the possibility of creating a nature preserve and incorporating it into over 9 acres of HOA property that immediately adjoins the Dads Club property due to a variety of factors, including concerns from the Dads Club's legal counsel and accountant that donating that property to the HOA could create some challenges to the Dads Club's 501c3 status, something that they can't compromise. That exploration fell through, but it is something that the mayor very much supports, having a natural area there. So we're continuing conversations with the Dads Club to explore, again, maybe the opportunity for a management agreement for that property, with the city providing or helping secure the funds to develop that into a nature preserve with maybe a trail, and also re-engaging conversations with the HOA to see if likewise we can incorporate that into to a nature park on the west side of the community, which of course is an area where we certainly could use more parks. So again, no commitments have been made, but something that the mayor is very supportive of, and a conversation that I've very much agreed to be a part of to see what is and isn't feasible with that. And then last but not least, with a new gubernatorial administration, the Governor Braun has appointed a new director for the Department of Natural Resources, Alan Morrison. He is just resigned as a representative from near Terre Haute, someone that maybe resembles our legal counsel a little bit, and as far as appearance and.
Told Michael he was my body double, so if there were protests or something, I would send Alan out, and they'd all chase him, and then I'd go another direction.
So we're looking forward, obviously, we don't have daily interaction with the DNR, but our master plan is reviewed and approved by DNR. They have a number of grant programs, and I think there's opportunities for DNR and municipal parks to have an even more collaborative partnership. So I've done outreach to Director Morrison, and he's responded, and I think we know someone else that can tap his ear. So look forward to having dialogue with the DNR, and both in my role as Director of Carmen Clay Parks and Recreation and incoming President of IPRA, just exploring how we can just further enhance that relationship. With that, happy to address any additional questions the Park Board may have.
Are there questions for Michael? I have several, but I'll let everybody else go first. Any questions? Okay, back up to the golf course again. So do you want a strongly worded statement from your board supporting that will be a cost recovery location?
I think as we have that's the expectation of council, and that's the expectation of the mayor. So I think I think we're all on the same
On the
page.
same
So
page.
if it looks like it's going a different direction, then it may be warranted. But all indications based on conversations I've had and feedback that I've received is that I think all the key players are on the same page regarding cost recovery.
I have one question on that, sorry.
Okay, is the golf house paid for already, or is that tied up in some bond issue?
My understanding, and we would certainly dive into this regarding with the business plan, but is my understanding that it was financed with a bond, and I believe that bond is still outstanding. But we'll understand that much better. And a big part of what I would want to understand too is what's actually included in the golf courses budget, what capital expenses, what bond payments or lease payments are included in that. So those are all part of in my opinion, the due diligence that the business plan will help us, bring to light.
Did they end up putting in a new pool over there too?
They did. There is a new pool. The pool was constructed, and then that pool was donated to either the HOA or to a 501c3. So the pool is not owned by the city, and the operations of it are not the city's responsibility. And it is my understanding that the city also does not contribute any expenses to that. But again, that's something that we would validate.
Who owns it?
It's a 501c3. I don't recall if it's the HOA or a Brookshire. I don't know, but it's kind of,
But we'll find out.
we'll find out.
Okay, because that's going to be another relationship
Correct.
kind of thing.
Yeah, because one of the big challenges in talking with Bob Higgins, the golf course superintendent, is that the amount of parking that is there is restrictive both to the golf course and effectively to the pool as well, because it's a shared parking. So I know that there's been some dialogue and some exploration to see if the parking can be expanded, and Bob suggested to me that he's hopeful that they'll be able to do that this year. But that is understanding, having a good working relationship with the pool, addressing, which I do believe is a true challenge. The parking there is something that's going to be paramount if cost recovery is achievable. One of the things that we learned, because sort of to Mr. Gerritson's question regarding, would we be asked to purchase it in 2013, 2014, then Mayor Brainerd did reach out to the park board to see if we would purchase it from the city. We did a feasibility study that did a deep dive at the time to look at the golf course and identified that that without significant investment from the city, there was really no chance at cost recovery. At that time, Mayor Brainerd then withdrew the request for us to purchase it, and that's never been brought back to the table. And like I said, based on the conversation I had with Mayor Finkum, that's not an expectation or request. She would envision a management agreement if we move forward with it. But some things that are good, the city has made some significant investments. The new clubhouse, several of the bridges that were identified as failing. So some of the improvements that were recommended in that feasibility study we did, I think we benefited the city because they took to heart and made some of those improvements. Reviewing the feasibility study not too long ago, there are some challenges that I think will remain regardless. The golf course is an older golf course that was designed based on different standards, and it was designed to be a private golf course, not a public golf course, which in part means that the level of play is more complex, a little bit more advanced than what is typical for your average municipal golf course that's built as a municipal golf course. So that creates some inherent operational challenges in that because it's a harder play, if you're a novice golf player, the reality is you're probably going to lose a few more balls, which increases the cost beyond your fees, your greens fees or membership that you're paying, because you're also paying to have more balls replaced, which increases the expense. That was something that was identified in the feasibility study. The previous owner before the city had some chemical spills into Cool Creek and received some fines. And as part of the settlement with, I don't remember if it was DNR or IDEM or both, the owner had to commit a portion of the golf course around Cool Creek as a conservation easement. So they can't cut the grass, they can't remove trees that create additional hazards, which again further complicates some of the play. So, that's something that, again, an increased relationship with DNR might be able to find some creative solutions where we provide, move the conservation easement to somewhere else that doesn't negatively impact the golf course or parks or anything. So, I think there's some things that we can bring to the table that could help. But again, I certainly wouldn't want to commit until a business plan is in place and we understand what is and isn't possible. Because to me, it's very important if there are too many factors that say, hey, you really can't make it, cost recovery, I want to make sure that that's understood. But if there is a way and it requires you to do X, Y, and Z, I want that also well documented so that if we're not allowed to do, either not provided the necessary funding or, it's just politically unfeasible to implement X, Y, or Z, that it's very clear that, hey, because we didn't do this is why we're not having the success, the financial success that we're wanting. So we want to, that's where the business plan comes into place, where, the goal is to bring it to cost recovery, but if there are reasons that it can't or actions that we're not able to make that were recommended, that it's well understood, this is why. So.
Jen, go ahead with your question.
Nope.
They got answered? Okay. So you just let us know.
Absolutely. We'll
So
definitely
you can convey the sentiment.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
Which I think's been conveyed before, but maybe not to all the new players in the whole deal. Okay. The Plan Commission, the Planning Department does have a survey out, if any of you've received it, about the redo of the 31 corridor and Illinois Street. So it's actually a pretty good survey, except the first question, they're going to have to fix something because you can only answer one thing instead of ranking a number of options of kinds of things. So they're going to fix that, but in case you're getting it, don't forget to take it.
Yeah,
because I'm sure
and I
it'll go out.
can, I think that one's, I
just
don't
went
think
out
it's a
last week.
closed survey, so I think it's an open survey, so I can make sure the park board members get,
Yeah, but wait, make sure they fix that question. They were going to do that, and I think the staff was just getting together the end of the week. Did you have any conversation with Adrian about it? I forgot to ask
I
her.
haven't, so I'll
Okay.
follow up with her and make sure.
Yeah,
that's-
because once that, I'll go back in and do mine. Okay. The Dad's Club and the HOA and this piece of property, we have been here before on this piece of geography. Okay, so what exactly is going on now? Who initiated what? Why is
So
the Dad's
th-
Club
there
not-
were, the Dance Club was approached, so they're not the one that's
Okay.
initiating it.
They're not giving up their fields, or they don't want to give up their,
So they don't have any, in this particular property, all they're doing is maintaining it.
oh, they never.
Largely, yeah, there's no fields there. I mean, there's no sports fields. It's not, it's in a natural-ish state. Yeah, and nothing can be constructed on it, so it really is limited as to what it can be because of the gas pipeline that's there, and there's no parking. So what initiated it was members of the HOA, I think some board members were interested in seeing this become kind of a nature preserve pollinator area. Shortly after the mayor was elected, and likely probably conversations that started beforehand, they also had conversations with the mayor expressing their interest, and Mayor Finkham identified it, this is something that she was also very interested in seeing become a nature preserve. So that was, it was something that was driven by the HOA with buy-in from the mayor, and then that's how parks got brought into the conversation.
So how many acres is the Dad's Club part?
Dad's Club is, my recollection is about 5.4 acres, and the HOA property that's immediately adjacent to it is over 9 acres. So we're looking at close to 15 acres there. The reality is because of the gas pipeline, that it really couldn't
So,
be.
yeah, so Michael, can you pull it up on the screen then? Because I guess I'm not realizing where this, we don't have the capability.
I don't have a
right
computer here, so
now.
I
Okay.
can't.
So is the whole thing on the gas pipeline?
The majority of it is. There's some, little triangles that come outside of the gas pipeline, but the vast majority of it is within the pipeline.
Okay, and so the HOA wants to turn their portion over to the parks? Is this?
That's not something that, originally, the conversation looked at the Dad's Club giving the property to the HOA, but that was deemed not feasible.
Right.
So then the conversation has become, can the Dad's Club donate, or probably more likely through a management agreement, provide that to the city? And if we're going to look at that, because the mayor is like, if it's going to be something that the city invests any dollars in it, she wants to ensure that the public can use it and it has a trail. But again, the idea that it's a nature preserve with native vegetation, I mean, it's going to be a prairie with pollinators. And then the idea is, okay, if we're going to do that, we can make a nicer trail network if we incorporate if the HOA is amenable to it into the park. But again, the idea is this only happens if the city is willing to fund it.
Okay, but the plan would be the HOA would become part of this park, and we would be taking care of their property?
Correct.
That's my concern.
Yeah, this is one, because of the volume of property they have and the fact,
Okay.
it becomes one general area. It's something that I think fits into our bigger picture of what we're trying to accomplish. It's not the typical HOA property that, we frequently get approached about, oh, hey, wouldn't you like to take over these 0.2 acres that do absolutely nothing for the public? This is something that actually could provide a great natural habitat and a interesting trail. So I think it warrants further investigation. Not a final decision, but investigation.
Okay, could we have a map next meeting?
Absolutely,
Yeah, I would like to, I guess I'm not actually tracking on where that particular piece is, so, okay.
Happy to provide
Yeah.
that.
Oh, here, okay, wait a minute, we gotta, well, once you said part of the pipeline.
Yeah.
That changes it a little bit, but still, there are a lot of people along that pipeline who would probably like to give somebody their land to maintain.
Yeah.
So,
This is Springmore Crossing right here.
okay.
And I want to stress, it's not the HOA that's wanting to give it to us. It's if we are able to accommodate the mayor's preference that the Dad's Club become a natural area, it may make sense for us to approach the HOA to incorporate that entire area into the park. So it's a little bit different. It's not them asking us to take their money away. We're kind of like, hey, we see this potential for maybe creating a larger nature park.
I don't see anything that looks like much of a nature park, though. Okay, that's right. We need a map, Michael,
Absolutely.
to be sure we're talking about what we think we're talking about, and it looks like a lot of moving parts, so.
It is.
I just, going forward, I think, does administration understand our policy is not to start picking up homeowners?
Very, very much so. And this is one that we've had a lot of conversation about. So yeah, I don't think this sets a precedent where
Okay.
the city administration is looking to take over every HOA. I think it's viewed as more of a unique circumstance that probably isn't replicable in
Okay.
much, if anywhere else, so.
Do we actually have a policy about this anywhere? I mean.
We don't,
It was
but-
always in our kit background, but do we still have?
We do have sort of general guidelines as far as the types, within the master plan, kind of
Okay.
the different amounts of quantity of acres ideally and what is necessary to create a neighborhood park, a nature preserve, what have you. So we sort of have some protocols in place as to what we're looking for things that we'll consider for a park. Something that's outright a policy, not necessarily, but I think there's strong guidelines to suggest what we will and won't do.
Okay, so for the next meeting, could we have a clearer picture about how the Dad's Club ended up with this next to this?
Sure,
Because I'm not
absolutely.
clear, about it's not part of a larger parcel of theirs.
No, it is
How
not.
did they end up with it? That's an odd thing.
I think it's one of those where I think they received it before Jack Barry, so when I talked to him, he didn't have all the history
The
to
history
it,
either.
but
Okay.
it's one of those where, I'm sure one of the developers had an open space requirement. I'm sure they were looking at offloading it, and the Dad's Club saw it as a potential for a place where they could have practice fields.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
worked
that
out.
wasn't
It
feasible.
hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
Jonathan, you're on duty at Plain Commission now. Okay, one of your jobs is to watch this stuff. So pretty soon, we're not 400 parcels all over town. So, okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, I think that's it. I just want, I loved in your report that Judy Singleton is working on the illustration for that piece of property, which is the 5 acres between the North Trailhead on the White River and the Connor Prairie, that piece we got, owned by the Haverstick and this whole gamish of cousins that have inherited this down, the Moffett Haverstick. But anyway, to have the signage recognize the women of the Moffett and Haverstick family, because they're really a lot of the powerhouses in the family.
Absolutely. Judy has been delightful to work with. Trudy Kohler, our marketing communications director, has been facilitating that conversation. But as we've been talking to Judy and just, the idea that, her great-great-great-grandmother, which was Matilda Haverstick, and then Matilda's mother beforehand, over almost 200 years of a woman owning property, and the same property is, I think, pretty remarkable because, unfortunately, that wasn't necessarily the historical case, sort of the exception to the rule, and to be able to celebrate that is I think, going to be something that's pretty special.
Well, and she's been very active in public life,
Yeah.
Judy herself, so I'm assuming, you know her,
Yes.
Brian, yeah.
Yes, and then we negotiated the acquisition of that property with the 9 cousins, including the
Yeah.
recluse.
Yeah, Yeah, that's
his
been
own
a
lawyer.
long time coming. That's
Yeah.
another 20-year
Yeah.
thing that finally came to fruition. And I love the 106, the 106 trail. I think that's very cool. And then maybe next meeting, since you don't have your computer, I'm not understanding where the stormwater's going on the Connor Prairie property and
Sure.
what we're avoiding. So maybe just a picture next time.
And right now, I haven't seen they're working on plans for that, so I can show generally what we're talking
we're doing,
about, but
okay.
I won't necessarily have specific plans. But that was something similar to the Stats Club property. You know, we're still working out things, but there's probably going to be more and more information coming to the board, so I never want to catch you by surprise when I'm asking you to consider an action item. So-
And we don't want to keep taking a trail out and putting it back in and taking a trail
Exactly.
out and putting it back in.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions for Michael? Okay.
Madam President, can I add
Yes.
two quick
Yes.
things? Sorry, I know this is going long. It was in Michael's report, but next month, we will have for you a resolution transferring all the assets that the township has purchased with 1215 funds to the township, or to the park
City.
board. The State Board of Accounts annually writes up the township for not maintaining an inventory of those items that are in the possession of the park department and they never see other than the purchase. We've accommodated that by an MOU with your staff that says we'll give you, trustee, an inventory, which they did for 2024. And Paul Hensel, the trustee, has just said, let's end this and we don't want it, we're not going to ask for it back. So they're going to adopt a resolution at their February meeting to transfer all those assets to the township, to the park board, effective 12/31 retroactively, so that it doesn't have to appear on any future audit. So you will deal with that next month. Second item, and this was triggered by Michael talking about Berkshire, is it Berkshire or Brookshire? Whichever one. The caterer there is also the caterer at the event space at fire headquarters, and they're terminating that arrangement effective August.
Okay.
So they're shutting down that operation at the top of fire headquarters, and that will become fire headquarters offices. They couldn't make it financially, so they gave notice to the township to terminate, and we negotiated an extension until their last event is completed, last scheduled event. So I don't know how that plays into what all you're talking about, but there'll be one less event space in the community.
Okay. So, because that's sort of my concern about the golf club over there, because there've been a lot of things, and I'm not clear whether people are renting them. I mean, I've been doing them, and I think it's sort of an expectation that it was free kind of thing, so I want to make sure but I think we're on top of it.
Yeah, that's
So-
definitely something we need to
Work
better
out.
understand. I know that the contract with the caterer is coming due shortly. So my recommendation is that if they choose to extend it, that they maybe not go for a super long extension.
Right,
So
right.
that if the recommendations in the business plan are to go a different direction, the city's not stuck for a long period of time.
Yeah, that's a tricky business, as we found out, even for our Monon Community Center. Yeah. Okay. Information items from anybody else? I just want, if you haven't seen your current today, there's a lovely letter to the editor thanking the park department for, grateful for winter break help. So I'm sure you probably already saw it, so everybody be sure you take a look. I took the senior management, well, I didn't, but Debbie Gangstead took the senior management on a tour of the new Carmel Clay History Museum, which is a lovely building. If you have not been over there in it, they've got their hours on their website and posted on the door if you want to just run in and take a look when they're there. So thank you all for going. That was, I think, good to get acquainted with the staff members that helped us, and appreciated you all showing up and making us look good too, so thank you. Anything else under park board comments or discussion? Okay. Ready for a motion to adjourn this?
So moved.
Second.
Do you need a roll call?
No, don't need a roll call for the adjournment.
Unless someone objects, I say.
Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned at
Bye, Mark.
Good night, all.
Bring back warm weather.